Okay, so welcome to the Mini Hoops podcast. I'm your host, Mason Wozniak, aka Doozy.
I'm Gabe Schneider, another host.
I'm Alex.
All right, today we're covering some draft lottery takeaways. Last night was a lottery, obviously. Detroit got the number one overall pick. Cleveland jumped up a little bit to 3. Toronto up to 4. Houston falls to 2, which is not much of a fall. They retain their pick. Orlando falls a little bit to 5. OKC, who's kind of the loser of the night, got 6 and didn't get Houston's pick. And then our Minnesota Timberwolves lose their pick to the Golden State Warriors at number 7. Magic have 2 top 10 picks. That's good for them, rebuilding. Yeah. Any big takeaways from you boys in terms of order?
I don't
Anything
know.
stood out?
To me, it's like crazy how like the last like 3 drafts, the team with the number one odd has not finished with the number one pick. Like,
Right.
that's pretty big. A big stat I saw.
The system that they implemented is really putting in work here. The
Yeah.
anti-tanking system is really working how it's supposed to be working.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
You guys like the system or not?
I like the system. I
Eh,
just like how it kind of just gets rid of tanking in general, with all the top 3 teams having the same odds at the number one pick to make it fair.
yeah.
I think it's go ahead.
I wish it was like a little more heavier for like the top, because like or like the worst teams I feel like had a little bit better odds, because I don't know, I feel like if you're really bad and you keep getting like 4 or 5 every year, I feel like that's kind of like gonna come back to bite you. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think you could, slap a few more percentage points onto the top 3. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like a drastic change, but
Mhm.
like New Orleans got 1 2 years ago, even though they were what, like 6th in
Yeah, I
the
think they
whatever.
Yeah.
jumping up like 6 spots or 7 spots.
Yeah,
or
the
something.
same year like the Lakers moved up to that year too.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I guess that's not horrible. Maybe you get some like small market teams in the top 3 when they maybe shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think you could wait a little bit more.
Yeah, I think just coming from a Wolves perspective, I feel like they seem to drop
Always in
every
the
year
lottery.
in the lottery. So
Right. Definitely fair. Speaking of the Wolves, the D'Lo trade has now officially kind of became Andrew Wiggins and the number 7 pick in this draft for D'Lo. As of right now, I would still do that trade. I'm perfectly comfortable giving up Wiggins and 7 in this draft for D'Lo. Yeah, I mean, we got rid of Wiggins' contract. Not that it's like a whole lot worse or better than D'Lo's, but I would definitely still do that. What about you guys?
I personally would definitely do it as well. I guess it more comes out to in a couple of years we'll find out if that 7 pick was really worth it or not. But overall, I think the Wolves still won that trade, and I would do it over and over again personally.
yeah, I agree. I feel like D'Lo's definitely a better fit for the Wolves right now than having Wiggins, because he would like compete with Ant, and it would just make everything complicated. So
Yeah, we'd be super wing heavy if we
yeah,
had Wiggins to be Wiggins and Culver, Beasley, Noel, if you want to include him in there. That's a lot of
mhm,
2s and 3s.
yeah,
Well,
And then at point guard,
the question that I come to mind is like, if we didn't do this D'Lo trade, would we still have Ant? Would we have drafted LaMelo Ball
Oh,
instead?
yeah,
I hope we would still have Ant.
I mean, I do too. But like, just think about like our front office. We still had Wiggins. Do you think they would even draft? Like, I guess people are saying like, oh, and that Ant might be like a Wiggins 2.0, but I definitely don't think that's like true at all. But like, do you think they would have changed their mind and won with the point guard since we didn't have one?
I think they would have.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it would have been repetitive to get Ant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they would say, LaMelo would make Wiggins and everyone around him better. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's definitely an interesting question. And I think LaMelo would definitely be the pick there if Wiggins was still there.
Yep.
So Wolves obviously lost their pick. Bummer. Rockets now have 2. They were rewarded for tanking and doing horrible at the end of the year, which sucks. But now with Christian Wood as their center slash, big, what do you guys think about Mobley at 2? He's kind of like the consensus 2. I guess I shouldn't say consensus, but it's probably above Jalen Green and is not better than Cunningham. So what do you guys think the Rockets do at 2 here?
Well, personally, I think that kind of the Rockets are like the biggest losers of the night here. They lose out on Cunningham by dropping down to number 2. And then the fact that like Mobley's already like the consensus number 2 pick and they already have the big, like what are they gonna do? Are they gonna somehow try to make a lineup with Mobley and Wood work? I'm just curious like how would spacing work out for that? Or do they go with like Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs? I'm totally shocked what they're gonna do with that pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's definitely a question mark, and I don't know. They might have to pass on Mobley to get someone else that would fit their team better.
Yeah, I think that could be a pretty crazy defensive front court if they had those 2. Christian Wood
Yeah.
is what, 6'10",
Mhm.
something like that, and Mobley is the same, or is he 7 foot?
I think my Mobley might be 6'11".
Yeah, either way, so 2 guys, super huge, tall guys, defensive. Wood can shoot like I think he shot 37% from 3 this year on like pretty solid volume.
Yeah,
Yeah,
37.
37% on 5 attempts a game.
That's pretty good.
So like that is a very, very solid stretch big. I was looking at his blocks. Yeah, he had 1.2 blocks, which is also pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mobley obviously can light it up defensively. So that'd be a hell of a front court.
Exactly.
But it's the age-old question of drafting bigs at the top of the draft. How does that? Some people would prefer guards or just super high ceiling guys like Ant. I think
Yeah.
that always comes into question. I think Jalen Green is probably the higher ceiling guy and probably makes more sense for Houston.
Yep.
But in terms of Wood, if they were, let's say they do draft Mobley, we can kind of pivot to a Christian Wood trade here. I was thinking about this yesterday. Christian Wood to the Wolves. I think so. Wood is 25. Obviously, the Rockets are horrible, and they're going to be horrible for at least like 2 more years probably.
Mm-hmm.
Good contract. He makes what, 15 million, 16,
13 looks
14,
like 13.6, I believe.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah. So D'Lo and Cat are both what, 25, 26. So I
Yeah,
think he fits the timeline. He's like a defensive. He's
D'Lo's
maybe not as good defensively as other people, but he can space the floor. He can shoot it. That'd be a hell of an offensive lineup.
Yeah, I feel like if you roll out Cat and Christian Wood, like Christian Wood would be the perfect power forward kind of next to Cat that can space the floor, play great defense, and is on a good contract. I don't know what you think, but I definitely think would be a great fit next to Cat when we need a power forward.
Yeah, he'd definitely be a solid addition to the lineup because you just fit in perfectly where one of our biggest holes is right now. But he would be, I feel like, very difficult to trade for at this point, considering like his contract is pretty low. But
Right.
the young player,
Yeah, you definitely have to throw in like more assets.
yeah,
They wouldn't just take like a couple of our like a Jarrett Culver and a Wancho. You'd have to at least do that and maybe throw in like a pick, like an expiring contract, and like also some future picks or pick swaps.
Yeah, I think that's where it gets tricky. It's tricky, but it's also pretty simple at the same time because
Mm-hmm.
Houston's just going to want, any deal for basically any player on their team that's any good is going to be expiring contracts, young talent, and picks, any combo of those. So I think a deal for Wood would be any of our bad contracts, whether that's Ricky, even though he makes more than Wood.
Well, he's on
Probably
the
Culver.
on the
Yeah,
expired.
yeah. And the Rockets will happily take on expiring deals if they can get, some picks in return. But I don't know if we would give one first rounder or two and say Ricky and Culver.
I feel like you do that, but then you throw on the protections, like maybe like a lottery protected or top 10 protection, just stuff like that. Make it so it makes like the I don't know. I just feel like you would not give up an unprotected first round pick in Ricky Rubio for Christian Wood, in my opinion. Or at
Really?
least or like two
Straight up
first two
Ricky
first round
and
picks.
Ricky and an unprotected for Wood.
I wouldn't. I mean, I guess I'd do that. But if you're talking about those like the two picks, if you do the one unprotected, definitely do not do the other one unprotected too.
Yeah. I think as of right now, I would definitely be on board for Ricky, Culver, and an unprotected.
Oh, I would do that in a heartbeat. Get Culver off this team, man.
Yeah, and then
I just
toss in another first. I think I'd probably still do it.
Yeah, I'd honestly probably do it too. Like,
no, I would do that trade now. Like, now that you just said it, but not just because of Culver, but I just feel like he's also just a super good fit. Some other fits that come to mind would maybe be like a John Collins or a Miles Turner, but I think Christian would also just be a great fit in general.
Yeah, I think a deal for Wood is going to be easier than a deal for Collins.
You'd have to feel like you have to do a sign and trade to get Collins on this team.
Right. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe it might not be that complicated because Beasley would obviously go to Atlanta. There's like nobody else that would be involved. Because I think with Atlanta, you have to give them guys who are going to contribute right away. And that's where it's easy with Houston is you can just give them terrible contracts of players who are no good or, whatever. Just give them bad contracts and picks and they'll do it. But with Atlanta, you got to have like they're trying to win. I mean, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like they got to get better or at least stay the same if they're trading Collins. So that makes it hard for us.
It does make it even makes it even harder when he's a restricted free agent, not unrestricted free agent too at the same time.
Right. So we could overpay, which would make it really rough.
And then with the Miles Turner thing, I don't know how they want to view the whole Sabonis and Turner fit. I've heard mixed opinions on both of them, but I also really don't know what they would want for Turner. You know what I mean? Like he's still like he's one of the best shot blockers in the league, and we could use some rim protection. But also the fact they value that more than, or they value that a lot more than other things, or like I don't know. I just don't know how that would trade would really work out.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as Atlanta, right? Like Indy is not
they're borderline,
right, like fringe playoff team. They're going to go out there and they're probably try and compete next year, get a playoff spot. LeVert will be back healthy.
They have LeVert,
Sabonis, and
Warren, Sabonis.
Right, yeah, Brogdon, Jeremy Lamb will be back too. So I think they could definitely make playoffs. So we got to give them something in return that's going to make them better, or at least keep them the same as they are with Turner. Which is tough.
Yeah.
Be Beasley. I don't know how well Beasley would fit.
With that bunch, I don't know.
They got a lot of wings as well. Warren, Lamb, LeVert, Brogdon's point guard, but I guess he could still play too every once in a while.
I just think the easiest one that makes the most sense would be right now for Wood. And then it's still tough with Atlanta and the Pacers because they're both going to want to be winning now. You can't just give them like salary cap for like an expiring contract. You're going to have to give them a player that was going to contribute to them.
Right. I think Collins it's going to be easier to get him than I think that we're thinking because I just don't think he's being used a lot in Atlanta. He's kind of like, I mean, they run that like high double drag with Collins and Capella. They've been running that in the playoffs. And then Collins will either flare out to the 3-point line and Capella will roll to the rim, which is super deadly with those guys because Collins is obviously a capable shooter and Capella is like probably one of the best lob threats in the league. And Trey can obviously, distribute well. But
I feel like
they don't use him a lot. So they're going to I'd be surprised if he came back, just considering their cap situation and how they use him currently.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of use him in the same role as kind of Capella. They use him as that screen and roller. They kind of if they, but like I just feel like if Atlanta wants to succeed more, I feel like I don't know. I just don't know if John Collins the best fit for them. At the same time, because he's kind of just he's like a Capella, but I mean he can stretch the floor, but he does like the same things as what they want him to do on offense is literally the same thing Capella does when I'm watching the games.
Right. Like he's perfect at his price tag right
Mhm.
now. But if he jumps to, 20 plus per
What do you
year,
what do you think he gets? Like, what do you guys think he gets? I don't think he's gonna get the max for sure.
I think the Beasley deal could be similar to what he gets, maybe on the lower end. I think with restricted free agency,
Mhm.
people might overpay. Some really
I
horrible
feel like
team will
I
offer
feel
him
like
a
it's
ton of
lower
money.
20s. I think it's lower 20s, 20 mil.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
'Cause,
surprised.
like the NBA, I just feel like the salary cap's gonna go up now that everybody's back watching sports, going to games. Like in the next couple of years, I feel like it's just in general the salary cap will jump up. But I just feel like with Collins' value and people wanting to overpay, like it'd be nice to get him on that Beasley 4 by 15, but
Mhm.
I just think he's gonna get that lower 20s, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah.
Can we afford that? Can the Wolves afford that?
Yeah, that's the next question is how much are we willing to pay him as Wolves fans with our current cap situation? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we could clear up money easily with Ricky and
Yeah.
Culver probably. That frees up like
We're gonna
23.
launch him with that 6 mil.
Right. That's gonna
Yeah.
be a hard move to make. Yikes. But yeah, I don't know what can be done. But
You gotta attach
uh
that pick if you want to get rid of him. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. That's where like, a Houston or a some other bad team might be willing to take on that Wancho deal,
Hmm.
but definitely not like Indy for Turner or Collins in Atlanta. They're not going to want to take those guys on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Definitely.
Pivoting to another trade possibility, Ben Simmons, the highly touted man on Twitter right now that everybody loves. Um,
They love
so I mocked up this one. On kind of a side note, I think the Wizards have to blow it up this offseason. Fired their coach. Um, Beal has 1 year left and then a player option. So I think it's kind of the time to move him. They should definitely hit reset. So I have Beal and Beasley going to Philly, Ben Simmons coming to the Wolves, and then basically just young talent picks and bad contracts going to Washington. So like George Hill, Ricky, Culver, Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, and then two firsts from Philly, and then one from us. And you can
him.
kind of mix and match that, those bad contracts and that young talent as you wish. There's more than one way to do it for sure. Um, but the real question is like, what do you guys think Simmons' value is right now?
I
Uh,
think Simmons.
yeah.
Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead,
I think
Scott.
it's still pretty high for like even how bad he was. Like, yeah, he had a really bad playoffs this year, but he's still like an all-star who's what, 23, 4, something like that.
Yeah, I think
He,
he's 24 right now, soon to
yeah,
be 25.
Look it up right now, real quick.
he's still pretty young, so you can I mean, he's not going to be like obviously he's probably never going to develop like a great jumper, but he'll perform better than what he did in this playoffs. So
Right.
he's still going to have a
Yeah, Ben
good
Simmons is
trade
24.
value,
And
which
I mean, right
is
now his value's never been lower than
yeah,
right
exactly.
now.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just finished second in Defensive Player of the Year, and a lot of people are thinking he should have been first. So
Yeah.
there are obviously a lot of people that are underestimating his value right now. But I also don't know how other teams view him because he is kind of that liability on offense, or you could say, especially in the playoffs. things slow down. There's more half court sets. Having a guy who can't shoot from damn near anywhere but the paint and can't shoot free throws is a liability. But that defense is unbelievable and to be perfect for the Wolves.
Yeah, my take on it, wise with Ben Simmons' values, he still has a ton of value. People on Twitter just clowning him. Like, what are you doing? This man is still a second defensive player of the year. Honestly, I think he should have won defensive player of the year this year. And the real question for me is this offseason with him. Like, I've seen rumors that what if he tries to shoot with that right hand? Like, he's with all these things in the playoffs, he's been shooting 70% of his shots have been with his right hand. Like, what if he tries to switch it up? Like, that's big. But overall, I just think he still has huge value, and it's going to cost a lot to get him.
Yeah.
Looking at this mock trade that you made, Gabe, looking at it, it's actually more eye-opening to me now that George Hill and Ricky Rubio are both on expiring deals. Plus, they could be getting that low or that just maybe that talent and stuff with Tyrese Maxey and Thibault, and then maybe Culver revives his career, but I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
Maybe
the important thing to know with the Hill contract is that it is not guaranteed.
Oh, that's even better too.
So I'm not sure. I'm assuming that it'll just drop. I think it drops like 1.7 million if they don't guarantee it. But honestly, I'm not really sure how that whole system works. So I guess it's just important to note that he probably will not be making 10 million this upcoming year. But like I said, you can mix and match bad contracts that go to Washington however you want to, whether that's from us or from Philly. So yeah.
I just think this is like a realistic trade that you've mocked up here that actually could happen. Gerson is always on the phone talking to teams. Like another thing, bringing back with the whole Christian Wood thing is Gerson has that relationship with all these people. Like he has the relationship with people in Houston, and now he's got the relationship with the people in Philly with Morey because he used to work with Morey in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they've been talking a little bit, trying to see if maybe they want to swing him over.
Yeah. I don't know if that makes a deal harder or easier, honestly. Because maybe they're just like, don't want to cede to their former coworkers, I guess you could say. But
I feel like maybe the trade is easier when you have a good relationship with somebody.
Right.
Probably, yeah.
You should have a better idea of what to expect, I guess. Is there anything else that you guys would like to touch on here?
We could either go back to the draft, we kind of pivoted away from that, but I think either that or maybe we could mock up some more hypothetical trades next week.
You want to talk about the Cavs at 3 really quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Obviously, they have Sexton, Garland.
Jared Allen.
Yeah. I think my AirPods just died, but go ahead.
Yeah, they're pretty guard heavy, so.
Especially if Mobley goes off the board at 2.
Yeah, if Mobley goes at 2, they got like a weird situation there to figure out what they want to do.
All right, I'm back with probably horrible audio quality, but here we go.
What do you think, Ed? If Mobley's off the board, what do you think they do? I've seen like things where they might get rid of Sexton, but I don't know why they would do that.
Right.
What do you think?
I think the Jalen Green pick is likely. I've heard the Sexton rumblings too. I think they could move him because he's got to have a payday coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they don't feel comfortable with him. Maybe they don't want to pay him. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on Sexton. I haven't watched enough of him to really, have a opinion on that. But I think Jalen Green is just a freak talent.
Yeah.
I believe
I got to take that.
Yeah, he definitely.
I believe the Colin Sexton's due for a contract next off season, 2022. Be
Okay.
there.
Yeah, I think that could play in a lot to this pick.
Yeah.
I doubt they're going to want to pay him.
No, with their current state, you probably don't want to pay like a young guy a ton of money when don't really have much of a future
Right.
at the current moment.
But do you think they believe that he's their franchise guy? Like he puts up these big numbers, but I don't know. I don't even know if he's their franchise guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I think his skill set is really valuable. He's like a I don't know, it's kind of an honest on the spot comp, but like a better Pat Bev, I guess. Like kind of a smaller guard. Although I don't even know how tall he is. Probably
Yeah.
shorter than 6'2", probably. Maybe 6'3". But
He's short for his position.
right. So but I mean he can shoot
Yeah,
decently well and he
he's a
can
lot better offensively than Beverly, that's for sure.
right. And I mean I think that defense is super valuable, like for a
Yeah.
team that wants to contend, which isn't necessarily the Cavs right now. But I mean, that's got to be in their plans soon. Like they've been rebuilding for so damn long. Like it's
Yeah.
time to they got to take a step here. And so that makes me question the Jalen Green pick. I don't know if you take a project like Jalen Green, who could be boom or bust, if you want to, start winning games like really soon here. So I think maybe they move down from 3, and they could take somebody else. I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like they'd be better suited for like a small forward, like a Jonathan Kaminga.
Yeah, yeah. They do have Okoro, who I think was like decently. He was okay last year.
Yeah, but he's also pretty small too. Isn't he 6'4"? They're playing him at the small forward.
Yeah, I don't know.
You got Kaminga that's 6'8", or he's pretty tall too. I think he's 6'8". You could also run that small ball and then just have because Jared Allen. Jared Allen's not 7 foot. He's a 6'11" too.
Right.
They could honestly roll that small ball
Mhm.
if they trade down to get Kaminga, maybe get another asset for the future.
Yeah. Or maybe move up for Mobley potentially if they
That's a
let Jared
possibility.
Allen walk, which would be rough. I'm a big Jared Allen fan, so if I were the Cavs, I would definitely try and retain him. But to each his own there, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely think that Jared Allen is honestly an underrated center because he's so good defensively and he can finish inside well. And I also hope they retain him.
Yeah. What are some more hypothetical trades that you guys got? If you want to touch on that really quick, if you had any, or if we covered them all, then that's cool too.
I guess I haven't covered all of them. The fact that Jeremy Grant may be available intrigues me as a Wolves fan. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like also his fit next to Cat as a small ball 4 is intriguing, and it could be really well because based on how he played in Detroit this year, I'm excited to see how he is next year, or if somehow the Wolves can get him and how he'd be as a fit next to Cat.
Yeah. So he's got what, 2 years left on his deal?
2 years, 20 million, I believe.
Each season, right? 20 million.
Yep, 20 million.
Okay. I was gonna say, holy shit, 10
Oh
million.
yeah, yeah. So 2 years 40, 2 years 40.
Right. Um, yeah, I think that's I'd like that a lot. Obviously, I think it'd be kind of hard to get him, just because I don't know. Detroit is, well, maybe not because they're still rebuilding. They're kind of like the Wizards of this Beal Simmons trade we were talking about, where they're not a good team. So you just got to throw bad contracts and picks and young talent at them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might be kind of difficult. I feel like some of these like power forwards are. I don't know how well or how easily they're gonna be like available for the Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's just really hard to kind of just for the Wolves to find that perfect fit next to Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, feels like we've tried everything.
Yeah, true.
Okay, well, I think that was a great first episode, and we'll see you next week.